Have you guys had like a meeting with the three of you before to talk through? This is the first time?
No, yeah, but this
Yeah,
is
this is
good.
the first
Yeah.
time. This is our meeting right here.
Thank you for bringing us together. Every single day, I'm like, I need to make a group chat with all of us so we can talk it out. And then it just slips my mind every day. So
Yeah.
thank you for bringing us together.
Totally.
No, exactly. Thank you.
Hey there, my name's Ari, and I'm the host of the sports podcast Blind Landing. This summer, we've got new episodes all about women's gymnastics in the Paris Olympics. And today, something special, kind of different, a video interview with three Filipino-American gymnasts who qualified for the Paris Games: Aleah Finnegan, Emma Malabuyo, and Levi Jung-Ruivivar. As you just saw in that intro clip, this was not only their first interview together, it was actually their first group get-together to plan and prep for the Games. Aleah, Emma, and Levi are the first female gymnasts in 60 years to represent the Philippines at the Olympics. We sat down to chat about their journeys to Paris, their connections to their heritage, and their plans to support the growth of gymnastics in the Philippines. I hope you enjoyed this exclusive conversation. One quick disclaimer before we get started: it was a scheduling feat to make this happen before the Olympics, so we had a couple technical difficulties because Levi had to come right from the gym, had kind of a shaky internet connection, but she was generous enough to make it work, as they all were. And if you want to hear an audio version of this story, you can check out our Blind Landing podcast feed, where we have a bunch of episodes about gymnasts in the Olympics, wherever you get your podcasts. Here's my conversation with Aleah, Emma, and Levi.
I was wondering if anyone here remembers the first time they met anyone else here. Can anyone pinpoint that?
I would probably say the first time I remember meeting Emma was at national team camp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like
Oh
that was
my
my first
God.
national team camp.
Yes.
I remember meeting you there. Like I think we were standing pretty close to each other in lineup because I was like short back then. Now I'm like super tall. But and then Aleah, I think it was probably at like a championships
I think it was.
because yeah, I remember everyone like always was like, "Oh, Aleah's so fun to talk to." Like, so I just remember hearing that like a bunch of people like speak very highly of you. So
So
yeah, I
sweet.
remember that.
Thank you.
Emma, Aleah, do you remember meeting each other for the first time, or is it just at this point like ancient
Oh,
history?
we met each other so long ago.
I
I
think
want to
it
say.
was it was some competition. I want to say it was an elite qualifier, but I totally could be wrong on
Wait,
that.
yeah,
It had to have been like a classics or like
or something like,
we have
yeah.
a picture from like I think it was like 2018 of us and we were like
Oh,
babies.
yeah, we do have a picture. Well, I think I wanted to say like I came up to you or something like that, and we were talking because I was like, oh, like you're the only one who talks. And I was like, she's really nice.
Just like Levi. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Me always talking.
yeah.
Funny. And did you kind of, when you met each other, clock like, feel him? Feel him? Like,
I actually didn't at all. Like I don't know why it didn't like click in my brain, but
I
I didn't like put two and two together until we kind of all like started competing for the Philippines.
slowly one by one competing. Yes.
Yeah.
I knew that Emma was Filipino just like growing up and stuff. I was slowly trying to convince her to go compete with me. Like when we'll see
Yeah.
each other in passing at like collegiate meets or something. But Levi, I distinctly remember this was like before I had met you. I like knew who you were through your toe point. Like it was like world renowned. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like that's the girl with a really good toe point. And then I was like, so congrats to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know everyone everyone like I feel like that's like my defining factor, I guess, in gymnastics. Everyone loves to like talk about my toe point.
oh, so let's see. We've got Levi's toe point. We've got Aleah being the only person that speaks. What would we say Emma's sort of defining factor is?
Floor.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that like her choreography and her like
Of course.
So
her
good.
spice. Like you kind of
Yeah.
like you give off like a I don't know. I guess I would like think when I think of Emma, I think of like her like smirk on floor. Like that smirk that she always gives like the judges or the
Yes.
audience.
Yes.
Thanks.
Aleah's speaking, Levi's toes, Emma smirk. That's what we
Yeah.
got.
My feet.
Your Philippine team, everybody.
Yeah, that's where you need to get your tattoo, Levi. Right
Oh
on
my,
your.
yeah.
Oh, wait, Levi, I saw that you were you're trying to figure out, yeah, where you want to get an Olympic tattoo. Have you
Yeah.
made a decision yet?
I have not because I'm gonna get it after the
Or the game?
Olympics. Because I actually heard some people were like DMing me. They're saying like, be careful if you get it on your wrist or your hand because it like you're not allowed to like put grips over it, I don't think, for at least 2 weeks. So that's a definite no-no before the Olympics. But I was thinking probably somewhere like on my wrist, forearm, or actually like I want to get I think actually the Filipino sun on my ankle.
Oh my.
But I'm not 100% sure. You guys can help me out with
Yeah,
the
you
design when
should.
we're all together.
Yeah, we should all get them together.
Wait, let's
Can
do
we do it, please?
it.
Okay, we're doing
Yes,
that.
do
We're
it.
doing
Okay.
that.
Perfect.
Okay.
So just to start off for a second, could we maybe go through by one, and would everyone just say a little bit about what their identity in terms of being Filipino is like? I know it's sort of different for everyone. Then just a little bit about your connection to that heritage. Emma, is it okay if I start with you?
Yeah, sure. So both of my parents are full Filipino, and so I grew up like with both sides, kind of going to like Filipino parties, eating the traditional foods, and of course having karaoke nights with my family. That is such a Filipino thing, but just really learning from my grandparents, and they really taught me so much about the culture. But yeah, that's kind of like the background, and I'm actually going to go to the Philippines after the Olympics. So I'm very excited for that.
What about you, Levi?
So my Lolo is Filipino. He was born and raised in the Philippines before he moved to Hawaii. And he was in a band with like seven other like Filipino guys, and they were called the Society of Seven. And so my dad and I like grew up a lot in the showroom and like Emma said, like singing, dancing, karaoke is like huge in the Philippines. It's just like part of the culture. So I grew up around that as well. And so my Lolo really connected me to the Philippines, and that's just part of my life growing up. So it's through him and my dad that I was able to connect with that community.
I was telling Emma and Aleah when you were off for a minute that part of my family's Filipino, they're Filipino athletes. I asked them to send a couple of questions, one of which they were like, you have to ask everybody what their favorite Filipino food is. So Emma was just talking about that, but what would it be for you?
I say this like every time it's lumpia, and now it's like starting to get like spread across because someone like sent me lumpia, and I was like, no, you guys can't be sending me lumpia before the Olympics. Like, I need to eat healthy. But I love lumpia, so probably that. I love ube
How
too. I used to
bad?
have
I just did it today.
ube cake like for my birthday growing up, and everyone was like, "What is this purple cake?" Like, I'm like, "It's basically like purple yam." And everyone was like, "No, I'm not eating that. Trust me, it's really good."
What about you, Aleah? Let's start with your favorite food and then your sort of greater
Yeah,
cultural
I mean,
connection.
I think lumpia is definitely a fan favorite around here. So probably one of those. But also, I love pancit, which is like, I don't know if you've had it, but it's kind of like an angel noodle. And then it has like chicken and veggies and like, it's kind of like lo mein, but like a little bit not really different. But it's really good. You'll have to try it
I've
sometime.
had it. It's good. Yeah, it's really good.
And then Aleah, like, yeah, what's a little bit about sort of your connection to your heritage like?
Yeah, so my mom was born and raised in the Philippines, and then she moved over to the States when she was about 19 for university and to study. So, I mean, similar to them, I've been very connected with the Filipino culture with, holidays and foods and like, like going to school and like bringing my little Filipino lunch, and everyone's like, "What are you eating?" And I'm like, "It's so good. I know you're jealous." Um, but just like, small things that it just kind of like I didn't realize until I got older that I was like, oh, like I do this a little bit different than they do. But, the older I get, the more I appreciate all of those details that, kind of make me who I am.
Totally, totally. Well, I just want to quickly For people that don't know, just do a little recap of each of your journeys. And I was thinking maybe we could go chronologically by how you qualified. So, Aleah, just to start for a minute here, back in 2021, you were trying to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. You were coming back from some injuries, it was COVID. You didn't qualify to trials, and then afterwards you said you were going to switch your focus to do collegiate gymnastics. Did you think at that time that you were done with elite?
Absolutely. And I like didn't even want to think about going back because it just wasn't something that was very common, especially during that time. Like it was once you went to college, like that was it, unless you took like a gap year or like took a break from it. Like those had happened in the past. But like once I went to LSU, I was very much, done with all of that. So
So, what brought you back to elite gymnastics and the Olympic route?
I think the first time that it kind of popped up in conversation, I was really hesitant even then, just about, going back to the whole scene. And then, talking with my mom and just thinking about how much it would mean to represent her and the sacrifices that she's made. And, just allowing me to even do gymnastics in the first place. And, what a great opportunity and what other chance do you get to represent, your family and your culture. And, one meet turned into a few, and here we are headed to Paris soon. So it's crazy how things work out.
And how did you connect with the federation?
So I have three older sisters, and growing up, we all did gymnastics. And my oldest sister, Hannah, actually competed for the Philippines at their Southeast Asian Games back in 2011. So a very long time ago. So they kind of knew that we were this family of Filipino American gymnasts. And, they spoke to Sarah about possibly competing. And then they reached out to me and my mother first. And yeah, ultimately took that leap of faith.
So, you went to World Championships last year in an attempt to earn the qualification spot for yourself. Did you feel nervous? The kind of did it bring back pangs of the Olympic season before? What was going on as that opportunity came up?
Before like I even went to the world championships, I went to the Asian championships, and I was with Emma, and my goal was just to make it to worlds, and that was such a feat, in itself, to even just be there. And so when I started my training process, then I realized that this was like an Olympic trials in itself. And so I tried not to make it, bigger than it needed to be. It was more or less just a competition, although it is at such a high stage. And just being there in itself was, such an honor and such a goal to even be there in the first place. So I tried not to, make it anything bigger than it was. And I really just wanted to stay on all of the events and just kind of let the cards fall. And that's what happened.
And then once you did it and you earned the Olympic berth, were you okay at that point to make it as big of a deal as it was? Because you became the first female gymnast in almost 60 years to qualify to the Olympics for the Philippines.
Yes, it definitely was such a waiting game afterwards because there were a few sessions still left to go after I had competed. And so just like trying to and calculate like what teams had made it, like what gymnasts were like eligible or like not eligible. And like I remember my sister and I were sitting at the hotel and we're trying to like, calculate who goes where. And then I get a text from my coach Garrett Griffith, who's also the LSU assistant coach, and he just like texts me and he's like, "You did it." And at that moment, like I'm bawling my eyes out, like my family's crying, my sister's crying. And it was just, such a full circle moment considering how the last few years had been for my career. And so, to be able to, like looking back on it, I had no idea where this journey would take me, but I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, I'm just have to say, I'm so sorry that while you were waiting to know if you got the spot or not, you had to sit in a hotel room and do math to bide your time. I can't think of anything that would have been less
I couldn't think of anything better.
I think Levi and Emma maybe know a little bit about what it's like to sit there and wait for the score to come up.
Yeah.
So maybe let's hear from Levi now about your journey. So you're a little bit younger than Emma and Aleah. You were not age eligible for Tokyo. Was representing the US at Paris the initial goal that you had when you started Elite, or did you think maybe I'll represent the Philippines?
So initially my plan was to represent hopefully like the US in the 2024 Olympics. And the plan was to represent the Philippines in the 2028 Olympics because I wanted to like get to represent the Philippines. Um, but I wasn't like I had no connections to the Gymnastics Federation in the Philippines like whatsoever. So I was never really able to make that connection.
This was just like a vague thought with your parents.
Yeah, like I think there was one time where I think we just threw it out there. I was like, what if I just represented the Philippines? And I think everyone was just like, oh yeah, like okay. But it never like it wasn't until I was able to actually make the connection that all of a sudden like I had such a really strong desire to be able to do it.
And what was that connection?
Cliff Park. So, okay, so first of all, when I moved to Woga, there's a Filipino family there. Kaden is one of the gymnasts who trains at Woga. Her name is Kaden Nyland, and her family had a connection to Cliff Park, who is like kind of responsible for recruiting the lambs. And so in order to compete for the Philippines, I had to like go through the technical committee on their end. So I just submit videos and competition videos and training and everything, and they had to evaluate my gymnastics to see if I would be like an asset to the team. And so then I was approved and I had to get my Filipino passports and like dual citizenship. So that was like a lot of work. And on top of all of that, I was recovering from bilateral heel surgery. So it was just there's a lot going on. Um, but after I decided to like transition to Philippines, I felt like it automatically, like I just felt like it was the right decision. Um, my like Lolo passed away just like a few years ago, so it also felt like I was honoring him and like that part of his family, and just to be able to connect with the community was amazing. So, I guess that's how I like got into competing for the Philippines. Aleah, I have like a funny thing. We
Oh, no.
went to the same person that did, I went to the same person that did your passport.
In Houston?
Yes, because I
Yes.
came in, he goes, this is the second person that's a gymnast that is like coming to get a Filipino passport. And he was like, I did this girl, her name was Aleah. And I was like,
Wait, that is so funny.
yeah. And he kept talking to me, he's like, and now she's qualified to the Olympics.
Oh my gosh. Did you tell them you were like, yeah, I'll see you there?
Yeah. I was like, that's so funny because like it was the same exact person who helped like expedite the process. And he's
Yes.
like, I did Aleah's, so hopefully I'll be able to do yours. But I like drove all the way from Dallas to Houston and then back up to Dallas, like train
Yeah,
the
I had
next
to do
day.
the
But
same in Louisiana
yeah,
too. Houston's just the hub
that's
for
even farther too.
I think you need to bring him with you to get your tattoos. I think it's the
Right.
four of you that
Like,
go
where's my
get
thank you letter? Send him a card.
totally. We gotta find him.
I
Yeah.
know.
I think I actually have his number, so we'll definitely write him a thank you note.
Yes, we should.
That's amazing. And so Levi, so you went down this route of the World Cup series, where you could qualify on by winning highest ranking on an apparatus, and you were sort of gunning for a spot on bars. When did you earn that spot, and what was that last competition for qualification like?
It was very stressful to say the least because um bars was one of the most competitive going into the last competition. So there were four competitions. Going into the fourth competition, I want to say I was sitting in fourth or fifth place, and I had to get this like move up to the second spot. So in order for that to happen, like a lot of things need to go right, and I knew that there was like a lot on the line. So when I made finals, I was just like, okay, I just have to like give it my all. So we decided to upgrade my routine, and I had never competed like the connections that I did in that routine. So that was my first time competing them. But I was like, might as well like go big or go home. But I remember on competition day, there was like a huge Filipino community in Doha. And so Doha was like the last of the World Cup series, which I wasn't expecting like whatsoever because it's Doha, but there was a huge Filipino community there. And Cliff Parks was the one who was with me at that competition because my other coach was unable to come. And he was like, surprise, I didn't want to tell you, but there's a bunch of Filipinos here to support you. And that like it definitely made me nervous, but it was also exciting. But it was before I even went for the routine. Like people were trying to like get my autograph and like, talk to me and stuff. And I was like, okay, wait, I need to focus. So I remember like going into the corner and I was just staring at a yellow wall and I had to like face the corner so like no one could talk to me before the routine. And then before I went, I feel like I was like totally dissociating because again, like I could hear everyone cheering like really loud, and in between each skill, like I like kept like hearing everyone cheer, which usually when I do routines, I'm very like unable to like hear everything out of the routine. Again, kind of like Aleah. I got the score and I moved into first place, but there were still two other athletes that had to go in order for me that I had to beat in order for me to qualify. So I was just kind of like sitting there watching their routines. And then even when I beat them, I still was uncertain because the point system is so complicated. Like I I'm not gonna attest to this. It's so complicated. So I was texting my mom and my coach, and I was texting my mom. I was like, Mom, did I make it? And she was, I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, I actually don't know. And then my coach, he was the one who was like, you made it. And then actually it was funny because Valeria and Anna, who are like my other primary coaches, they were in Italy at a competition with Pesley and Claire. And I think my mom texted them and said like, yay, she made it. And they thought that I just meant like I made the routine, not
Routine,
like
because you were
made
doing
the
the upgrades.
Olympics.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So I was like, they're like, oh, that's amazing. She made the routine. And then Tabitha texted them as well and was like, congratulations. But again, they like weren't really certain. And then finally Ivan texted them and was like, she made it. So then Valeria and Anna like announced it to the US delegation there and everyone was like cheering us up. So I thought that was really sweet.
That's so wild and it's hilarious. She made it of it all.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, so that's Aleah and that's Levi, and of course, like those are not easy, very impressive, not certain routes that you went down. I think it's maybe fair to say Emma has had the most nail-biting, convoluted journey, uncertainty to get to this spot. Here. So Emma, your story is a little bit similar to Aaliyah's in the beginning of, coming back from a few injuries leading up to Tokyo, but
Mhm.
you made that team as an alternate. You were an alternate for the Tokyo Olympics. What was that time in Tokyo like for you?
Honestly, it was the hardest training of my life just because of like the COVID protocols. And it would just literally be me and Kayla in the entire gym. And we still had to do every single assignment that the Olympic team was doing. So, not knowing that you're going to compete and just having to be in that position was really difficult and very tough because you're just working as hard as they are. But yeah, it was also just so interesting because I kind of felt like I was in jail because I'd be in my room by myself and they'd lay a tray of food outside my door and I'd eat every meal by myself and it was so sad.
So this was like not what anyone would think of as like the typical Olympic experience by any
Yeah.
means. And after you had that, did you kind of come back and think, I really want to try again. I want to have an Olympics where it doesn't feel like I'm in prison with food being delivered to me on a tray, isolated
Yeah.
from everyone. Or were you feeling like I'm closing the book on elite and that's just over here?
Yeah, so after I kind of was like, okay, I'm closing this chapter of my life. Like, oh, okay, I like almost made it to my goal. I'm okay. I think I'm gonna move on. And so just doing college gymnastics and just having like a lot of fun and then finally getting the phone call and just getting the opportunity to compete for the Philippines, I was just like, oh, I'll just do one more elite competition. So I still wasn't even thinking about Olympics. So that was pretty crazy.
And that's after Aleah, you're texting Emma for the year beforehand, and you're like, come with me. Philippines,
Yes.
make it
It was
happen.
like that season. I
Mhm.
specifically remember I ran into you and I was like, Emma, like, come compete. Like, you should
Yeah,
do it. I'm
I
not sure
remember
who that
that.
was though, but
I want to say it was like you finished doing SEA Games and then it was that next season, so like our sophomore year.
yes.
Yeah. And then you did come up to me and I remember you telling me that.
And so that seed was in your head from Aleah over there. Was there anything in particular when you finally said yes that made you
Mhm.
decide to do that first elite competition back?
I think it was just mainly because my body felt like pretty good. My beam and floor felt really good. And I thought like, oh, let me just try these elite routines, just see how I do out there. If they need a team, like I'm willing to put these routines together. And then when I had such an amazing time with the team and I just like fell in love with like the whole entire community, I was like, oh, I really want to compete and do elite again. So I think that competition kind of like set a little fire in me.
And Emma, you, on top of having to qualify simultaneously, were doing NCAA elite throughout the year. So you were going to collegiate meets, going back to UCLA, getting on a plane halfway around the world to the Middle East, coming back, doing collegiate meets, trying to qualify the way that Levi did through the World Cup route first. You ended up second, just
Mhm.
one spot away from earning the berth that way. At that moment, were you feeling like maybe you were done?
Oh yeah, I like Levi can tell you everything.
Yeah.
I pulled like all-nighters. I could not sleep. I was nonstop crying. Every time I went to the, I just start crying and I was like, I can't believe I did all of this work and I wanted to try again. I did all four competitions and flying back and forth doing NCAA and just competing every single weekend and just trying to do this and then it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. I was just like so heartbroken. But yeah, after that, I was like, I'm done. I don't even want to do the next competition.
Levi, do you remember?
Yeah. I was just like like I was trying to like I didn't know if I like
Yeah.
was like comfort her, just like let her have her time. And
I was like, I'm so happy for you, Levi. I'm going to the pool. Hi, quick.
yeah. I was like, oh, okay. If you need anything, just let me know. But yeah, we had like a little therapy session with Hazel, which is like a PT. And we were all just like laying on the bed and just like Hazel was like giving Emma a hug and we were just like talking. It was so hard because obviously I was excited, but I just felt devastated for you because you were so close. But now you don't have to worry about that because you're
Yeah.
going to Paris.
So let's talk about how you finally earned the spot, which is after that route closed, there was one chance,
Mhm,
one spot at the Asian Championships.
mhm.
You didn't do one event to earn it. You had to do all four. What eventually made you say, "Yep, I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens"?
Well, when I flew back to LA the next day, I was like, well, I'm already registered for this competition. I can't let the team down. And
Because it
I
was a team competition,
it was
Asian
a team
Championships.
competition. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't let them down. Like, I'm gonna just do the best that I can do. But I remember in the gym, I started crying and I was crying for like an hour, and my teammates all gave me a hug and they were like, just do some like play with gymnastics today, have fun. And then I was like just so pissed off that I started doing like half of my routines, and I was like, wait, actually, this is kind of possible. Like I haven't vaulted in like a year. I haven't done all around in 2 years. So I was just like playing around at the gym and I was like, wait, it's actually coming back fairly easily. So then I was like, okay, I got a little bit of motivation and every single week I started progressing a little bit. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, just try doing it all around, just see how it goes. And if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But that was kind of like my preparation and how I shifted gears.
And did you have your own waiting game after you finished all around at Asian Championships to see if you got the spot or not?
Yeah, so I was in the first subdivision and there were three subdivisions. So after I finished, I was like, oh my gosh, like I did all around. Like I'm just happy that I made it through the meet. And
And
so
you're happy you vaulted for the first time in a year.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
my teammates were like, we've never seen you vault. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that. But I did it. And then I was in my room and I was like, Dad, I'm just gonna take a nap. And he was like, No, this is the last subdivision. It's almost done. There's 30 minutes left of this meet. And I was like, Dad, I'm just gonna eat my pizza, maybe nap. And he was like, Come to the arena. And I was like, Okay. So all the girls came with me. Levi came with me. And then we calculated which girls were kind of like in the running. And so there was this one girl who was so close to like my score, and she had the best meet of her life. And she needed to get like a 13 on vault. And she got like a 12.96 something. And so I won by 0.0333. Like I literally just remember the moment I was squeezing Levi's hands.
Yeah.
This. And I was like, I can't look. I can't look. And then we all read the score together, and I was like, no way. I made it.
That is
That was such an
wild.
amazing moment. I remember being so nervous too for you. And like Emma was like burying her face in the car. She was like, my heart, I don't even think I can take this. And then like when we all read the score, I think we all screamed. Did we scream? I think we
all
did.
screamed like at the same time because we saw
Yeah.
the score. Like, yeah.
And then we started like jumping up and down and like hugging each other. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Aleah and Emma, especially, I'm wondering this time around, does it feel physically different at all coming back to elite after switching into that sort of slightly lower difficulty NCAA gear to go back up? Or what's that been like in your body?
For me, this is my third summer actually going from college to elite to college to elite. So this is my third summer now. So I think just like making sure I have like good time off after season is very crucial to, making it this far. So like I took a few weeks off of just like no gymnastics completely. And then I think around May-ish is when I kind of started to pick things up again and slowly piece things together. But it's everything in moderation. It's definitely, keeping the numbers low and just, doing what I need to do to feel confident about later this month. This month. Oh my gosh, it's July.
What about you, Emma? What feels different this time around in terms of your approach or in your body, the way it feels?
Mhm. Yeah, I think the main difference is the volume and the numbers that I do in the gym. I've done a lot of like visualization and a lot of mental preparation. So I think that's like the main difference. But I'm trying to get like really strong in different areas, like doing a lot of conditioning versus of just like a lot of pounding on my body. So that has kind of been the main difference.
Do you feel like you're doing less hours than you were as a US elite?
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing a lot less hours, but quality.
Aleah, you were nodding too, it looked like.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot less hours, but like Emma said, it's quality over quantity. So for me, at least I don't know about you, Emma, but just like I'm a little bit older, so I have a little bit more aches and pains here and there, nothing too crazy, thankfully, but just managing it kind of similar to how I do in collegiate season, because collegiate season, it's meet after meet after meet. And so you kind of have to navigate the longevity of that season. And so, although my skills now are more difficult, still trying to keep that same mindset in order to, preserve my body.
Yeah, totally. What about you, Emma?
Yeah, I kind of feel like what Aleah said, just preserving my body, being a lot smarter. And I honestly think like I'm being more like proactive and I'm like working actually faster in the gym. So then I don't have to stay there for too long. But I feel like that's been like very different than what I used to do.
Levi was talking before about at the World Cup series just being like, whoa, there's all these Filipino fans. Have you, Aleah and Emma, also noticed that in the international competitions that you've done since representing the Philippines? Emma, you want to go first?
Yeah, I have like a funny story. So in one of the World Cups in Baku, I actually was about to like compete and do my beam routine. And usually I look in the stands because if I see somebody that I know, I feel like calm. because I feel like someone out there is supporting me. And I just remember hearing my name being shouted like, "Go Emma, go Emma." And I'm like, who knows my name in Azerbaijan? Like, what? And so I looked up and it was this like whole entire Filipino community holding the flag and they were just shouting my name. And before my beam routine, I was like, wow, I feel really confident and I feel all the love and support. So I thought that moment was very special.
What about you, Leah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Filipinos are everywhere, like no matter where you go, even the most, randomest places that you travel. And not only are they there, but they're willing to support you. Like even in the places that gymnastics like maybe isn't such a popular sport to watch, like they go and they support. And when they support like yelling, screaming, like all of the above, just like I think a lot of us say a lot in like these kind of interviews, just like the amount of love and support, but it is so real and so evident on how much just like Filipinos everywhere just love supporting the Philippines and, in athletes and now in like female sports, thankfully we have the opportunity to represent that. And so it's definitely really cool to be able to, just travel a lot of these places and really, really just thankful for all the support that we receive.
So, want to ask a bit of a tougher question, maybe. Curious if anyone feels comfortable to speak to it, which is about 10 years ago, there was a situation where there were a couple of American gymnasts who were able to, through the FIG, get Belarusian nationalities, go compete for Belarus. They didn't have any ties to the country. And people kind of looked at that and they said, oh man, these gymnasts are taking away opportunities from those in Belarus and they're not really connected to it. Does this situation that you're in feel different to you? And why, if so?
Oh, I would say I feel like this situation feels different just because like we're inspiring the next generation, like future generations. And so I think it's so cool to see us representing, the Philippines and also like we have such a big connection to our culture and our community and our background. And in fact that I think it's just like really inspiring for little girls.
You in insofar as you are all ethnically Filipino, you are all connected culturally and
Mhm.
engaged with the country. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Levi?
I would say like I definitely agree with Emma. I specifically have talked a lot to Cynthia, who's like the head of GAP in the Philippines. And I still had to like earn my spot on the Filipino team. I didn't just like walk into it. I still had to prove myself like through like I said, the videos I selected, they looked at like routines and scores from my past. So it wasn't just like a gimme, it was still something that I had to work towards being a part of the team. And then like Emma was saying, on top of that, I know they really do want like a lot of Filipinos who are like born and raised in the Philippines. We're trying to help like facilitate that as well because it takes a lot of time to grow programs. And like recently, I was in the Philippines for only 3 days because I was unable to get away from more training, especially at this time. But I plan on going back to the Philippines and doing like clinics with the younger girls. There's so much talent in the Philippines, and I think all of us have a really strong connection. We're competing for the Philippines in order to connect with community and in order to like do something to our families and our heritage. And um we all are Filipinos, so yeah.
I mean, we do have ties to the country that we're representing, but I think the whole purpose of, obviously we have our individual goals, but it's also to, like Levi said, shed light on the young athletes that are in the Philippines who have goals and have aspirations, to be in the position that we're in someday. And so for them, they don't really get to see that a whole lot. And so I think it's awesome that we have three of us being able to represent their country as a whole. And so I like to view it as just like an opportunity for these girls to see that it is possible, that, they can reach for their dreams. I mean, all three of us, I've heard, like plan on going back to the Philippines after Paris and just, being able to visit with the other athletes and being able to, just help them in any way that we can for their gymnastics.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because it's a chicken and egg kind of scenario where the only way to get more funding for a program is to have people that rank highly in international competition. But the only way to have people rank highly is to have a really good program. And so,
Mhm.
Emma, does that kind of resonate as like part of what the hope is that you guys are helping to get this program, the sport in the country more on the visible side so that it can help the gymnasts born there get opportunities?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why I'm going in August to the Philippines is because I'm actually going to choreograph floor routines and teach dance there, which I'm so excited to do. But also just help with the fundamentals and the basics of gymnastics because I think there's so much talent. And then I'm also hopefully maybe in the future get my judging credentials and license so I could also help with judging on that side.
That's
That makes a lot of sense. Did you
Yeah.
know that, Aleah?
No, I didn't. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yay.
That's really cool. And speaking 2028 here for a second, you're not actually competing as a team at this Olympics in the official sense of, kind of counting for a team score. But I was doing a little, I was also doing a little math, and I was looking at your latest international all-around scores, and it looked like it would have put you, just the three of you, at 15th at Worlds. And if you're taking the best scores from the past couple of years, that's up to 12th. And again, that's only the three of you. If you could add two more people in, you get pretty close to a team final there. Is there anything about that makes you think about maybe sticking around to be a part of a Filipino team internationally at a Worlds or even Olympics?
I thought of maybe just like going hopefully maybe to like the 2025 World Championships, but it also depends on my body. I mean, I've never been to Worlds, so that's like one of my goals, but it really depends on my last college season and how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely never want to shut the door on anything. So I don't want to speak too far ahead, but I'm never just going to close an opportunity that's just kind of sitting right in front of us. And with those stats, you can make a convincing point. But even if it's not, me specifically, then I hope that hopefully it can inspire other either Philiams or Filipinos to just kind of rally around each other. Because I think that especially this year, it was so close to being on that worlds as a team. So I think it's only up from here.
Sure. Going into Paris this summer, what are the upgrades you're working on? Levi, do you want to start off?
Mostly I'm actually working on execution and cleaning up like all my routines and then trying to make sure I get credit for all my skills because at some of the World Cups like I wasn't getting credit for certain things I was doing. And like just a few connections here and there. And then working on my e-score. I'd say that's like the main thing.
Right now for you, it's not difficulty, it's execution. That is
Yeah.
the mind.
Yes.
What about you, Emma? I feel like we've seen a couple of things you're playing around with in the gym on social media.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put my Arabian in on beam. I've been working on that and honestly it's been so fun to train that skill and then my double layout on floor. But I have an upgrade actually. It's a jump full turn on the beam, but sideways.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And
That's so
It is
scary.
so scary.
let me tell you, I had a mental block on that skill this week. I was like, I'm so scared, but I can do an Arabian. Like it's just so crazy.
That is incredible. Just to explain for anyone that might be listening that wouldn't know. So the Arabian is a back tuck with a half twist, a blind landing. You don't see the ground. You have to land on the 4-inch wide beam. That you're like chill. But
Yes,
jumping in a circle, that's the one that's really
can't
tripping
do
you
it.
up. Yeah.
Okay, it's an Arabian, it's fine. But when I get to that jump full turn, I'm literally like, don't fall, don't miss your feet, you're gonna be fine. But that's an upgrade.
So funny. What about you, Leah?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of, slowly adding in little pieces here and there, pretty much on almost every event. And just really working on form because, it'd be fun to throw in everything in the kitchen sink, but I also do want to be able to perform and feel good about, what I'm doing out there. I also got a new floor routine, which I'm really excited to debut. It has a little bit of Filipino artists, some K-pop artists, and a French artist as well. So I feel like it
Ooh.
ties all together. I'm so excited about it. So
Cool. This is, I think, my last question now, which is, what are the goals for the Olympics this summer for each of you? Levi, do you want to start us off?
I would definitely say I really want to make the all-around final. That was something I talked to my coach about. And definitely like the performing side. I love dancing and performing. So I'm hoping to like add some more facial expressions and more like pizzazz, I guess, into my floor
I can help
routine.
you with that.
Thank you. I would love that.
Emma
So I
can
can
help you with the
perform that.
smirk, you know?
Yes.
Give the
Emma,
judges
teach
a
me your
little wink,
smirk,
you know?
please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emma, any goals that you've been thinking about for these games this month?
I would say just really enjoy myself out there and have so much fun. But also, like Levi, maybe make all around finals. I think that would be such a dream. That would be so cool to be out there. And I don't know, we'll see where Beam and Floor lands, but I don't know if I could make it to a final, that would be awesome too.
Sure. What about you, Leah?
I think definitely as gymnasts, what we strive for is perfection. So just for me, just being able to take a step back and being like, I'm at the Olympics, like what the heck is happening? And just realizing that I just want to enjoy my time there and not get frustrated over a leap on beam or something. So that's the main goal.
Totally. To not sweat the small stuff. It's like
Yeah,
you're at the Olympics, and
sure.
that's kind of just being there in and of itself is the thing. That makes sense. So Emma had a question. You had a question for the group that you wanted to ask about packing. Was it what?
Oh, I did. Oh, I was like, what do we bring out? Like a check-in and a carry-on and a backpack, right?
Okay, wait, yeah, I wasn't like listening because I was trying to figure out the
Really bad.
fill me in.
I'm bringing like my check-in, and then for my carry-on, I'm putting like my grips, my tape, some stuff in there, and then
Okay,
my
okay,
bag.
okay.
So I have three.
Got it. And then like in terms of like clothes, like what are you bringing? Because I'm thinking like, okay, well, do I need to bring extra pairs of leggings and then like or like shorts or these
I was
like
gonna bring like all the stuff for like the Mets like training camp,
yeah.
like tanks and like shirts and stuff. But then when we go to the Olympic Village, we have to wear like all of our gear.
Yeah, because
So
we can only like wear, or we're only supposed to wear like Filipino gear like in the Olympic Village.
Yeah.
I think both, but like that's definitely like a priority. But there's also laundry there too, so not to worry.
Oh yeah,
All right. I'm glad you know that.
Anything else you need to plan with each other?
I'm sure we have a lot to do
We
actually,
got it.
but
We might hop on a
right
different
now we're
call.
good.
Well, I feel like I want to get like everyone to say something at once. I don't even know what it would be. What should it be? Just something,
We say
to kind of
like
end on.
okay.
Mabuhay.
Hi.
Okay, yeah.
All right. You guys ready? 1, 2.
Hi. Wait.
The timing was like
Wait, I thought
I
we
think we need to do
started
that
good. Was it not
again.
good?
on my
I think
end.
I went-
It was like
I thought I
Oh,
went so early. Like it sounded like I went so early.
It's like a
Okay.
It's
fun.
okay. I'll sync it up so it's totally
okay, so
fine.
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Meeting
for sure.
you.
Likewise.
Bye.